Hey, how you doing? Hey, this is Admin from PlexCod. So I'm going to start up a little series called PG Extras, and basically these are videos not fully related to PG, but general IT stuff, right? So the good thing is we're learning a lot about Linux, Plex and Docker containers and everything, but there's a lot of other knowledge that's out there. So, I've had people comment to me and send me messages that they enjoy the videos and that they gained a lot out of it. So I was like, might as well just share some other things that I know. So if you see any PG extra videos, basically they're topics that can relate to anything from certs to technology to anything else. And I think in the future I'm going to expand on these things. The one thing I learned about certifications are that people do not technically like to explain things well, or they try to oversell it to you, or they're just not really good at explaining what they're trying to say to you. So this video is about CISSP, right? So CISSP is a top tier certification exam. So the thing is, currently working a bit in the cyber field, CISSP does not prepare you for that. CISSP is governance, like the overall understanding of things. So, for example, like if you have Security Plus, I always tell people Security Plus is a worker bee cert. It's a great certification to have, but if it's something that you're aiming for the long term, it's not really that great to hold on to. So, what will help you progress in the general IT world? And remember, this is not for cyber, but this is midway level. So, the best way to explain CISSP is that again, it's a manager certification. Think like a manager, not a worker bee. So the site that I'm at right now is issc2.org, right? Great organization, confusing materials, confusing outlines. So the biggest thing is when it comes to CISSP, you need to network other CISSPs. So right now I'm a currently certified CISSP for 4 years. Currently have about 40 certifications, and the CISSP exam I studied for about 2 weeks and passed it. And it's a combination of the other certs and then like over studying Security Plus is what really helped. So when I took it, there's 10 domains. There's 8 domains. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to just give you some tips on what I did, some sites to go to, and what things to look at. Because the thing is, CISSP is one of those certifications you definitely cannot find any answers on. This is not something that you just go online and look. So right here, I have some sample questions, right? So these sample questions are good questions, right? But these are not on the exam, right? You can do all the sample questions you want. Honestly, when I was studying the sample questions, when I was doing it, I was only getting about a 40 to 50% pass rate. So it makes you a little bit nervous, right? So what happened was there was a author named Sean Harris who passed away. Her videos and her information was like the gold standard. I believe there was a book she wrote before she passed. So yeah, Sean Harris. So when did this come out? Okay, so it looks like somebody's carrying on this book. So Sean Harris, for the love of me, I had a CD and I did like 200 questions, and I only had 10 more days to study for the exam. And the one thing I can tell you is that I remember from one of my history teachers is that study things that you need to know, not what you already know. So the mistake I did was I did 200 questions, which literally took me 4 hours. On review of the second question, I actually closed it, thinking that when I'd open it back up, it'd be ready for me, right? Nope, it was not available. Everything was lost. I was like, F it. I'm just going to study, the way that I know and the way to do things. CSSP is an overwhelming exam. So originally, like when I took it, it was 250 questions, and you had 6 hours, and the questions are pretty tough. I say about a good maybe like 170 of those 250 just didn't let up, and then like the back end ones were easy. So now the current exam is progressive, meaning that if you pass more questions right within a certain time limit, the exam can end even at 100 questions. So don't fully quote me on that because I haven't taken that version of the exam, but the exam is still as hard as anything. So one thing I would recommend is to get the CISSP book. Now, the exam could have changed a little bit. Originally, the CISSP book here from IC Square sucked. So obviously, you can tell by the ratings that it's improved. So ISC squared, originally all the material was just bad, like bad. If you studied their books and you studied their guides, they did not help you. So this is what I did. So understanding I had that short timeline, First, do not be cheap. Buy the physical book. I know for Security Plus and other things, you can go out there and just, torrent the book. But these are books that you don't want to torrent. These are books that you really need to buy because they are really helpful. So the first thing to do is to study the smallest material first. So the 11th hour books are great for this. So the reason to call it 11th hour is because, well, it's 11th hour. It's last minute study guide. Read this book first, right? Because what it is, it's a condensed book and it has lesser information compared to the others. It's very condensed, right? So what you're going to do is you'll go through this book here and you'll study the material. Now, what you need to do is when you're going through each of these chapters, you need to annotate things you don't understand. So when you don't understand it, you need to go YouTube it. Don't freaking highlight the definition, try to memorize it. That is the biggest mistake. I was in a class that decided to huddle every night and study to midnight, memorizing all the definitions. Well, guess what? Most of them failed. I didn't do that. I went home, studied them by myself, and had a method. So what you do is you pretty much like study this book, and I wonder how much you're going to show you. This book shouldn't be overly big. Yeah. Okay. It's a pretty thin book from what I remember. So what you need to do is you need to go through this. Something you don't understand, you just need to highlight, and you need to look at YouTube videos. That is, to be honest with you, that's how I memorized most of the material. The mistake is assuming that the exam is like, well, I know what this definition is. So if I know it, I'm going to get it right. No, CISSP will mess with you because it will throw 3 concepts at you, and it's gauging your understanding at a manager level to see if you can decipher the question. So if you watch those YouTube videos, if you kind of did that extra research and the things that you don't understand, you're going to be better well off. That is the thing. Do not get caught up in memorizing all these damn definitions. That is the one thing that I know I can tell you. So right here, it looks like, okay, you're talking about legal and regulatory issues in this domain right here, right? So it talks about criminal law, civil law, administrative law. I do recall those questions. But the thing is, it didn't pop up a question that said, okay, according to this, is this administrative law or civil law? No, it gauged you. So it gave you a scenario question, and it tried to, maybe it talked about tort, and it tried to see how you would apply it. The reason these questions are set up like that is because, remember how I was talking about stuff is at a managerial level? Well, you as a manager are going to be caught up with lots of catch-22s, and there's no like, okay, I know this definition, this is the right answer. So you can see that in this book here, they give pretty straightforward definitions. This is the reason why it's great to study this book first, because it is just to the point. So if you're looking at this and you're like, you know what, crap, I really just don't understand risk analysis, right? Here's the general definitions. Go YouTube it. Once you YouTube it and you see people talk about it and you see people really getting into it, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I kind of get this. So then you know how to apply it. When you get to Sean Harris's book or any of the other bigger books, trust me, they're going to go like knees deep in this. But that's the point you don't want to get to. The thing is, the material is pretty dry. So if you study these definitions, you watch the YouTube stuff, you decide to see some outside material, when you finally get to those bigger books, you're going to be well off. So this is just straight to the point. And guess what? A little bit of a secret for you. I'm also PMP certified, and half these definitions fall in project management. So project management is actually a little bit easier in an exam than this. But the good news is a lot of these definitions fall right under project management. So even if you're not PMP business focused, study project management after this. So again, I'm just telling you these tips from a guy who passed in 2 weeks. I hope that provides some clarity. It gives some kind of justification to let you know that I'm not just making this up. So I would recommend the 11th Hour book as your first book to study. Okay, so the thing is, this is the next book that they have right here. This is a little bit bigger, right? I would recommend this. Do not jump on the IC squared material. Do not jump on the Sean Harris material yet, okay? So get this book, because what it is now it's an expanded book. It's good to have this anyways, because guess what? The day before the exam, this is a book you're just going to review through one more time. So here's the CISSP. And you can see in this book that it's probably a little bit thicker. I wonder if I know they show the pages around here somewhere. It's been a hot minute since I've been here on Amazon. So, because usually it used to be kind of like up front, blah, 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 blah. So they're just trying to tell you all the good stuff. But anyways, I know this book is thicker. It's probably about twice as thick as the other book that you were looking at. So if you look in here, it's probably going to have more. So yeah, you can already see that they have more stuff. Yeah, it's like in the 400s. Yeah, okay, so it definitely is a lot bigger. So again, they're doing the same thing. They're just going to get more into depth about what they're doing. So you could see that in here they're talking about, it looks like the CI triad. Yeah. Okay. So in here you could tell that they're kind of going more into these concepts. So if you study that first book, this stuff is going to start becoming easier to you. You do not want to start reading the difficult material first. I like this book because it's very straightforward in its definitions. But again, you need that secondary, like I said, like that original stuff that you studied to help you. Because if you start reading a lot of stuff all at once, you're going to start getting overwhelmed. Highlight the book. This is the reason why you physically going to buy it. Out of all the things that I've studied, CSSP, PMP, CCMP, and not CH, but like those books I bought because you're going to want to highlight. Once you're highlighting things that either stand out or it's because it doesn't make sense to you. See how we're back into that area? So you see how it talks about administrative law, liability, due care, due diligence. So you notice that the definitions are a little bit expanded here. So now you're not going to be as lost in this exam. Now, maybe something I should have stated in the beginning of this video, but certifications that will help you with CISSP will be CCNA, CCNA Security, CEH, CHFI, Certified Forensic Investigator. I have that cert too, just the alphabet of stuff. And for example, CHFI talks about chain of custody and evidence. I believe Security Plus talks about it. CCNA Security talks about Kerberos and ticketing systems. So I do recall those kind of questions popping up on exam. So having some of that background will definitely help you. So again, I would recommend this book to you as your next. As your last book, I would recommend Sean Harris. Now, how relevant is Sean Harris in these days now? I don't know. This is a new edition, but I know this book was overkill. This book is not something. It's great if you know, not worth the money if you do. And I remember people, okay, it looks like people saying good things. Okay, I remember people complaining about the original book too, because it's just overwhelming. They didn't give you an ebook. If you kind of Google it on the internet, it's really easy to find the PDF. The PDF is good for like referencing, but it's not something you want to do. But this book is god awfully big. Yeah, look at that right there. See, you're talking about 1,000 pages. So if you understand my logic on why I said that you want to go about that order, that's the reason why. If you study this certification first, you study for the certification, and this is the book that you study first, you're going to be insanely overwhelmed, and then you're going to give up, and then you do not want to pass exam. See, look right here. See, it's just going on and on and on and on. So there's the risk management we're talking about. So you can see the risk management. There's already like 30 pages from where the other book only had maybe like 5 pages. So this book is the ultimate end book that you want to get to. So you want to highlight things. You definitely want to go crazy with this book, and you want to try to understand the concepts. Remember, this should be like the final kind of like hoorah with this book. If you can find original Sean Harris CSSP videos, even though they're outdated and from 2007, and original audios, they are great to have. So in between driving to work, in between just laying around or doing whatever you do, got a Sonos stereo system, just blast Sean Harris. The material's outdated, but the concepts will definitely help a lot. And it's definitely would help me quite a bit. I'm not going to lie. Even when I took the certification exam, I literally stayed up all night and I listened to the videos and all the audios all the way up to the point of the test. Definitely having that 11th-hour book. So that's one of the things you need to do. All these practice exam books, they're going to be a waste of time and money. You could probably take one, but honestly, those books are probably going to demotivate you. The only reason you just want to do a few sample questions is not to get a feel for the test, because it does not feel like the test at all. Trust me. Those, you took that exam and you're going to be like, holy crap, these questions are nothing like what I experienced. So again, do not get caught up on the practice questions, right? Because instead of playing with the practice questions, you could be playing fill the gap. What is it that I do not know? So again, this is the organization that will that you will register for the exam. So you will register for the exam first, and then after you pass, you still are not CISSP qualified. You have to know a CISSP that has to vouch for you, and you have to have college, 4-year degree. If you don't have all these requirements, you'll be an associate at CISSP, and trust me, many jobs will take you for it. And I think you have to do less C's and pay less money. So it kind of works for some people. And then, um, yeah, you just got to get that resume done. I believe you have a year to get it done. So it's something you don't want to screw around on to get that letter in. And I can't remember. Yeah, you might have. I might be wrong on that. You might have to check it out. I just remember somebody telling me they had like so much time length to get it done. So, and again, things could have changed. An excellent website that I would recommend for you to go to is Tech Exams. Um, and I'm a little confused by the site now because I think they got bought out. I remember the site looking a little bit more rugged, but I checked my email and this is the exact site. What I did was I went here to this site. They must have got bought out, but yeah, I went here and you can see where people are talking about CISSP. Um, this site is not going to help you pass the exam. It's going to help you gain understanding. So come here, talk to people, gauge their minds, and see what they did, what books they did, in order to pass this exam. So again, just type tech exams, and it looks like it'll go to InfoSec Institute um, and check them out. This is for every certification. Before I started studying for it, I went here to kind of do like a recon and try to gauge people. It's like, hey, what are some things you need to look out for? What are some tips? And again, you know yourself best because those are the ultimate tips that you're going to utilize in order to pass this exam. So you understand Amazon, where to get the materials. You understand the forums you can go to, the site you can go to. Do not get caught up on these CISSP questions. So without violating the agreement, an example scenario I can give you is be like, hey, there's somebody tried to send an email to you and your coworker, and there's a man in the middle, right? So a question will have something stupid where it will talk about, for example, like the email's going to you specifically, and the man in the middle is trying to affect you. But two of the answers can talk about your partner or your friend, and it has nothing to do with the question. So they'll throw distractors into questions. And the reason I didn't fret when I saw questions like that was because, again, it came down to that understanding the material, listening to those videos, and beating yourself to death. Last of all, CISSP is pretty much globally recognized. For government, this is where it's really important. There's a lot of people don't understand this, but this is called the DoD 8570 baseline certifications. And worker bee certifications get you here. What's going to help you get picked up into like cyber branch or IT automations is AIT level 3, IM level 3, because this is what gives you pretty much the clearance to have higher level access. So as IAT level 3 prior, CISSP is qualified. So basically that allows you to be a manager on a network. So, this can help you get jobs where you're pretty much like, if you understand government is like GS10 through GS12. So these are certifications you want to chase. CISM is in that boat. If you can't get that, CCNA security will help you get AIT level 2. Usually I've seen level 1 or 3 be the primary ones. I've never seen really positions to say, hey, you need your IAT level 2 certification. So if you're looking for government jobs in the future, this is very, very important for the like U.S. military, for U.S. government jobs in general. This is something that a lot of people are not fully aware of. So a lot of people will go to college, they'll get their degree in cyber, they'll have like almost no certs to show for it. They'll just have Security Plus, no clearance, and a jacked up background. And a combination of those will not help you get a job. So because there are people I've seen and known like that, they'll end up working at Best Buy or at the mall, and there's nothing wrong with working at those locations. But when you're slammed with debt, trying to pay off all this stuff, and you're trying to have an open end, like a more fruitful career, understanding certifications, jobs, networking, LinkedIn, building up your resume is very important to do. So hopefully these tips help you out a little bit. So you kind of at least have an idea where to go, what CISSP kind of generally is. It's a managerial level certification. So it kills Security Plus. Honestly, I have Security Plus. I still maintain it along with my CISSP, even though I don't need to, because it's just one of those things. The only downside to CSSP compared to the other certifications is that you have to renew it annually. You have to do the 40 cert, you have to do the 40 credit hours, and you have to pay that annual fee. If you do not pay or do those two things, your certification is good for that 3 years from originally when you were accepted, and then it expires, and you have to do it all over again. It doesn't matter if you cough up $1,000, save kittens from a cyber tree, or anything like that. You're pretty much done. So just understand that this is something that you need to pay attention to. If this is something you want to study, this is something that you definitely want to pursue with your heart and a passion. Other than that, you have a good one. Please like, subscribe, save, comment, donate, whatever you like to do. Check out our site at PlexGuide. So definitely got a great interactive community. And to be honest with you, PlexGuide, after obtaining all the college certifications and everything else that you just need, because the world continues to change, the project was something that I needed, because you'll start seeing on certifications, hey, how many Get stars you got? What Get projects have you been to? What cyber conferences you've been to? So the project has definitely been something that's been helpful and inspiring. You have a good one.